Just a moment. There we go. Okay, can I introduce you first, David? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We are so happy to all of you have all of you with us again this afternoon. Welcome back to our session 3 of Phonics to Meaning. Yeah, last week we had a wonderful time with Tim Rosinski, and I hope that you guys have been trying some of the things in your class and that you all really have a list of questions for our speaker today. Today, I want to introduce you to session 3 to our guest. Prof. David Harrison. David is an award-winning American poet, and an author of over 100 books for children. How amazing is that? And you know, that's something that we really need in South Africa. We need more books for our children, isn't it true? So he has spent his life proving that words are powerful and playful, and that we can use these words and even have it accessible to every child, and that a well-crafted poem can unlock a reader who nothing else has reached. And so, alongside with our anchor and facilitator, Sam, who will be joining us shortly, I see these guys are waking up so early. It's still early in the morning in the US, and we're in the afternoon here already. So we are so happy that they are with us. I'm going to hand over, gentlemen. The floor is yours. David, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Minda. I'm just delighted to be here, and I know that you're out there, teachers. I can't see you, but I'm just so pleased to be with you. My wife is a retired teacher, and most of my friends over the years have been teachers. So I can't tell you enough how much I respect you and what you do. Um, for all of us during the course of our lives. So thank you for being teachers. Um, I want to talk to you today as a poet, although I began as a scientist many years ago. Um, in my graduate work, I studied a little tapeworm found mostly in rats called Hymenolopus diminuta. And it turned out that not many people cared about Hymenolopus. So I went to work as a pharmacologist, and but I didn't like killing animals all day for a living. So I went to work for a greeting card company in Kansas City, Hallmark Cards, and I became their editorial manager there. But I still wasn't published. At night I was writing, and I finally began to get published. And my first book came out in 1959. That's a lifetime and more ago for most of you, I realize, but that's how long I've been around and doing it. So here I am um, talking to friends in South Africa, and I'm in Springfield, Missouri. And I still don't understand how this works, but I'm just so happy to be here. And I want you to ask questions. If you have anything you want to know about, please forward your questions to Minda, and I will gladly answer them. We want to make sure that this is for you, and that at the end of the day, you wind up with as much information as I know that I can give you. Um, I'm going to start by reading a few poems that I wrote with Dr. A book I did with Dr. Fresh, Mary Jo Fresh, the uh, Phonics handbook poetry collection, and there were 101 poems in this book, and I wrote all the poems. So I want you to know how I did it because there's no magic to it. It's a system, it's a process. So I'll read a poem and tell you how I did it. But there are just 4 steps in doing this. And the first step is to start with the smallest sound in the language, a phoneme, and then make a list. Number one, let's choose your sound. Number two, make a list of all the words you can find or think of that share that sound, that phoneme. And if you're lucky, there will be, 10, 15, 20 other words that share that sound. And that will give you plenty of ammunition to start working on a poem. If you're not lucky, it may be one of those sounds that doesn't have a lot of sister sounds. Then you have to be really creative and figure out how to make the most of that. Uh, Finally, I look at that list. Now, this is where I suppose creativity or imagination comes into it. But if you look at a list of words, I promise you that sooner or later you're going to find one of them that kind of speaks back to you. It gives you an idea, and you think, well, yeah, I might be able to do something with it. Don't know what yet, but I'll work with that, and then you can see some other words that you think, oh, well, those words would kind of go with my theme word. So here's an example. Um, And by the way, you can do this same thing, which is why I'm telling you partly because maybe you don't need a poem that I did. Maybe what you need is a poem that you do, um, because you're right there on the spot, and you know your kids, and maybe with a little luck, your kids will also want to participate, and maybe they can help you with the list, and maybe they can maybe even make up their own poem. It happens. So here we go. This is the first one, and it's the phoneme ack, A-C-K, ack. So in this case, I was pretty lucky because I found 21 words that have ack in them. Are we
David,
still trying to
just
get Dr.
yeah,
Sam's attention?
he's still getting in, but I wanted to let you
Well,
know I have posted the words into the chat, so everybody's welcome to access it there, and it's also on the WhatsApp group, so you
oh,
can continue
yay.
with see.
Great. So you can see, attack the list. Um, Wonderful. So can you see there are 21 words here, and I underlined the seven that I was eventually able to use as his poem. So the word that talked back to me was snack. We're talking about kids. Kids come out of the womb hungry. They just need food, and so um, I thought I would write about snack, and then snack attack, since that's one of the words too. Of course, came naturally. So this is what happened when my brother needs a snack. He opens every box and pack, gobbles every pile and stack, empties every jar and sack. Looks like he could pop or crack, but soon his snack attack is back. Now, what I like to do, I'm basically a storyteller. I broke into the business of writing for children, well, for adults before that, as a storyteller. So often my poems tend to tell some kind of a little narrative, some sort of a little story. And I think for the purposes here at hand, that the story helps. It helps kids remember, and when they come back to it for repeated reading, it's easier, I think, to remember when it's a story. They may not name it for that, but that's what it is. Now, the next one I want to talk about is partner poems. And boy, I sure like Dr. Sam's hat. I love reading too. um, Partner poems are fun to write. Um, as far and also, of course, to recite. Um, I've co-written, I guess, 3 books now on partner poems with Dr. Rosinski and Dr. Fresh. And they are so helpful in developing fundamental literacy skills and fluency. Um, I'll give you an example of how excited kids can become over partner poems. I was in a school, fourth and fifth grade kids, and I just in one class I was sharing partner poems, and we were reading back and forth from one of these books I just mentioned, and the kids just got into it. And so I told them goodbye and left and walked down the hall to the next classroom, which is down, maybe, I don't know, 50 feet down the hall. By the time I got there, I heard these thundering feet behind me. And here are these two kids yelling, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Harrison. And they stopped me just before I got into the new room. And they had already made up a partner poem and they were just so excited. And they made me stop right where I was while they recited their poem. Now, it was a terrible poem, but who cares? They were into it. They were that quickly into it. And I was just walking tall when I went into that next room because that was a 100% success story in my book. Well, um, then another aspect of partner poems is that you don't even have to be in the same room with your partner. Um, that that blows my mind that I could sit right here and read a partner poem with somebody in Dayton, Ohio, which I did a while back. There was a conductor of a youth symphony in Dayton, Ohio. That's about 600 miles from where I'm sitting right now. And he dedicated an entire concert to a book of mine called Bugs, poems about creeping things. And so from time to time throughout the concert, they would stop. And one of the kids and I would read a partner poem. And I had pre-recorded it, so I would read my part here. And then silently to myself, I'd be reading the words that this other person would be reading. So I'd leave enough time, then pick up a line aloud again. And it just worked out beautifully. And I don't know if we'll show you hopefully a picture of me, just huge, scary, big on a screen behind the orchestra. And it was so much fun. And then last year I did it again in Sasebo, Japan. And I put in a picture of that one too. And it was just fun. That was only 6,400 miles away. You kids are 9,000 miles away from where I'm sitting right now. Um, so here's the thing. You could read with me now if you want to. Is that possible? Um, if you can't,
Yes.
Linda
I,
can.
I'm gonna put the uh I've put up example two in our chat group on the oh, it's not showing very well, but at least we can get an idea of what it looks like. I think we can do it, David. I think we'll be able to do it. I can read with you. And guys, I know you are mostly muted. Or is there anybody else who wants to read with David? You can,
It's really simple, very easy.
yeah.
This is a poem for two voices, and the the sound is sh at the
Right.
end of words. So I made my list, found my words, and there weren't many, but I was able to put them together, and I finally decided on a dog named Josh, and Josh gets into a lot of trouble, as rambunctious dogs can. So the first voice would be me. My dog ran away like a flash. And then you would read the second voice.
Whoa, Josh, is that
He,
it?
great. He piddled in our neighbor's brush,
That's Josh.
rolled around in his trash,
Stop, Josh.
sat on his flowers with a crush.
Bad Josh.
He tripped on the hose with a crash,
Oh, Josh.
slipped in a puddle of slush,
Josh.
fell on his tail with a splash,
Wait, Josh.
and then he came home in a rush.
Good, Josh.
Now, there you go. I love that. Thank you. That's just so much
You're
fun.
welcome. You're welcome.
And
That's a lot of fun. Yes.
but that's how easy it is when two kids are writing their own poem. You sit down and you have a conversation, just whatever comes up. It could be about any subject, family, pets, school, doesn't matter. And And then before you know it, you have a little list of sentences back and forth as friends will talk. And you begin to worry about that a little bit and maybe take a word off here and add a word there. And you don't get all bent out of shape about how good this is. You're just having fun with it. And pretty soon you have something where you have two partners or maybe more reading back and forth as Minda and I just did. And I just thought that was fun. Thank you. Um, Here's something else you can do with partner poems. At least I tried this with success. I was in an international school in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I was there for a week, and I was working with kids in all classes. And in one group, I had one little girl. She was just precious, but she would not shut up. She was just the clown of the class, always had to be talking, and she disrupted without meaning to. Bright as she could be, just cute but smart. And then there was another girl in there who was so shy that I could hardly hear her speak just from a few feet away. She just could hardly get the words out. Well, I was having the kids take turns reading partner poems, so I put those two girls together and sent them to the back of the room for with a few minutes to practice. Well, I could hear them giggling back there, and I knew something was brewing. And pretty soon it was their time, so they came forward. And when they started, the show off began, and she was emoting and just carrying on and having a ball. But you know what happened? When the shy one started reading, she did too. I, nobody could believe it. Who was this girl? But she kind of caught on from her partner, and she did a beautiful job, and we were all just in awe. So I don't know if that would work every time, maybe not, but it worked that time for me. So I pass that along to you in case you want to try something like that and see if the strong reader holds, helps bring forward the new one or the weaker one. I know that's not new news to you. You're a teacher, for heaven's sakes, but it was new to me. Um, okay, here's another one I'd like to share. It's P, the sound P at the beginning of words. So again, the list, the whole routine, and I came up with Pollywog P. They had me name each poem. So this was Pollywog P. Now, you can, when you read your poem, the poem for the first time to your class, naturally you want them to like it. You want them to find interest in it because you're going to be working with this poem for a while. That is, if you do some of the things that are in the FDL, the Fluency Development lesson, or even if you're doing what you do on your own. Sam, are you there? You're looking at me, but I can't hear you. I think he's there. Okay, well, so um, sometimes usually I just read a poem straight. I do the best I can with prosody. I want them to feel it and hear it the way is read fluently and with meaning and understanding. Sometimes it's kind of fun to be silly with it too, and that's okay. That's fair. So I won't do the whole thing this way. I'm going to read the poem, but I'm not going to do it with this way. Like a pony named Paul met a puppy named Pokey down by the pond where the pollywogs play. Now that's I guess you'll agree that's probably pretty silly, but anyway, I won't belabor it. But you can play with these things. After all, they're poems. A piggy named Peg. Oh my gosh, there's another pig. What's with pigs? It's pigs all over the place. A piggy named Peg met Pokey and Paul down by the pond in the pine tree forest, down by the pond where the pollywogs play. Now you see that this is one of those poems that builds and adds on. The possum named Pat met Pokey, Paul, and Peg down by the pond in the pine tree forest, the lily pad pond where the pollywogs play. Pokey, Paul, and Pat said the piggy named Peg, Let's all prance by the pond in the forest, the lily pad pond where the pollywogs play. They pranced all night and they pranced all day, down by the pond, the lily pad pond, in the pine tree forest, down by the pond where the pollywogs play. Now, see, that's another
Okay.
story. That's another little episode.
Is anyone hearing me now? Hello?
Yay!
Yay. Okay. I need to give 1,000 apologies here. And by the way, you can read all about this because my next blog is going to be about setting this stuff all up. So you can hear the funny story of how it took me 7 years to finally get aboard, but I'm finally aboard and everything's working. Don't you love technology? And everybody shout out, no, we don't love technology. Okay, so I'm going to put my 2 cents in with as fast as I can. First of all, for all of you, and David, you might want to mute your ears or something because they're going to be burning because I'm going to
Oh
talk
no.
about you for a minute. Okay, this man is a poet laureate of everything. State of Missouri, before Route 66 now. He does a monthly poem. He has a website, the whole 9 yards. He is internationally known, and he has a knack for creating these poems that, oh my gosh, it's just wonderful. Second, I want to remind everyone that Tim Brzezinski gave you permission that if you ever come across one of his poems, and you're thinking, wait a minute, the kids don't know what a polywog is. They don't know what they. Then it's okay to either pre-teach that word to them, or it's also okay to create your own at about the same level. The other thing I was hearing a lot of stuff from is everybody is worried, oh, this is going to be too hard for my kid. No, it isn't. Uh, I don't think uh, if you find it is way too hard, then just make a slightly easier one. And I know that you can get to, uh, remind me, David, uh, we've got a website where one of the other co-authors of the one of the other book has Chase Young. Okay. Chase Young has a website, and you can write your own poem and then send that poem to Chase Young. You can also go on Chase Young's website and look for first grade poems. I'm hoping that a lot of the time you'll just be able to use. Here's the wonderful thing: uh, there are uh, who is your partner that
Which one?
wrote the lesson plans?
Um, are you talking about the Phonics handbook or
I'm talking about the other one. You're Or
the
did you? Oh, you didn't take part in that one. My bad. Okay, so let me just say that the lesson plans are all there, and you certainly can use them, and then adapt. So, as you think of all this, think that if you don't think it's fitting your kids, you can adapt your read aloud uh, to fit them. But most all the work's done for you. Now, I promise you, I'm working my little heart out to try to get the funding. And if that doesn't happen, I'm just going to fund it. Okay. I hope my wife isn't listening. But one way or another, we're going to get these books into your hand before it's time. So, that all said, you've got an internationally famous poet. You've got a poet that just showed you how he writes them. Okay, so you can write one of your own. You've got the freedom to, if you think they don't know what a polywog is, you've got the freedom to go ahead and pre-teach that. Your kids, and if you really need that much freedom, then you can create your own. So this is kind of like I was a teacher for in Title I rooms, which are our version of the economically challenged areas for almost 30 years. So I know what it's like to work with kids that are coming in. They've never been read to before, or they they haven't even been talked to enough. Sometimes, not always, sometimes. So I know what that's like. But on the other hand, once you get these kids into something that's theirs and they own, then all the magic of repeated reading works. And the reason that our form of repeated reading works, when a lot of times I hear people on the from the other group say, "Oh, it didn't work for us." Well, no, it didn't, because the poems you're using use words that they've never heard of before. They don't have the background. You don't provide the background. You're using words that don't sound out in their language and all the rest. So, bottom line is, you may adapt, and that's my big message. Two big messages here then are: David is famous. He's good at it. He'll get the kids involved, and it will become fun for them and you. The second thing is, you have our blessing if you need to adapt. And if you need to and you do adapt, then go to Chase Young's site. Now, if you want to hear all this reiterated, read tomorrow's blog. Okay, and you'll be in it. I'll be talking about, here's what poor Dr. Sam was sitting there. Maybe I might have to write something called Poor Dr. Sam. Poor Dr. Sam. The technology wasn't working. He was, uh, but by the way, did that stop me? No. So when in doubt, I've been playing guitar in church, for instance, for over 50 years now. And there are times when, you know, you make a mistake or whatever. And what I generally do is look at somebody else and then keep playing. Then everybody thinks it's the other person that did it, and charge. So that's my psychology. Keep going. And Eric Litwin also said that during some of his presentations. When you're working with young children, they don't care if you're the world's best reader. We care that you're reading with prosody as much as you can, and you're pronouncing the words correctly. We care about that, but they don't care. What they care about is you. Teachers make more difference than anything else. So put some of you into this, and don't be afraid to do that, and put something that fits them into it, and you'll be a happy puppies all the way around. That's my 2 cents worth, and that's a phrase that, well, maybe David knows where that came from, but that's my 2 cents worth, and maybe he doesn't. Uh, but I'm going to shut up and eat breakfast.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, David, I think we're ready for our next part. Thank you so much for that, Sam.
Okay, shall I go forward? Okay. Um, Thank you, Dr. Sam, for your kind words. I appreciate that. He and I have been friends and colleagues now for many, many years, and I always look forward to the next adventure with Dr. Sam. Um, so yeah, we did an edition of a magazine that he edited for many years, the Missouri Reader, and I asked him if he would consider doing a whole issue dedicated to poetry, and he said sure. And by the time we finished, we had people like Dr. Rosinski and Dr. Fresh and many others. And I think, Sam, if I'm not mistaken, at least at that time, the magazine drew the most readers
Oh,
that edition in the history of the magazine.
absolutely. That was absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And by the way, that's another thing we have to do. All you teachers out there that are going, poetry. Has he ever taught kids like me poetry? Well, no. I think after you do some of David's things, and you put yourself into it, and you go to Dr. Chase's site, that you'll be going poetry. Okay, and since teachers make the most difference. So your attitude and the kids will pick up with it in 10 seconds, whether or not your positive attitude toward this. So, and the other thing is that I hear Dr. Chase saying all the time, this is fun. Okay. That's why it works for repeated reading. It's fun. They have the background, and they'll read, read, read. And by the way, David, I'll just say a huge thank you. I'm trying to. That's another of the projects I'm working on. I'm trying to get that magazine back off the ground,
oh
and I
yeah.
may succeed. I may succeed. or I may not, but that means I'm going to try, and that's a typical teacher. If one thing doesn't work, you go after the next, okay, until something works. And by the way, this project has been magic, and that yeah, I may have just made up the title to tomorrow's blog, the magic of okay. So I'll shut up again.
Well, okay, I'm going to try one more example because uh, this is the sound of Y, just the letter Y. Well, when I looked to make a list, I was very limited there, but I finally settled on a yak as my hero, and I'll interrupt myself. Uh, Dr. Sam, I think one of the reasons why these poems help young readers um, decode uh, unfamiliar words is that they tell a story. So when you know the story and you know where it's headed, and you've maybe heard it once or twice, it's just simply easier to figure out what that word might be, as opposed to just reading prose or reading a poem that has no particular story to it. At least that's my feeling about it. My two
Oh,
cents. Were,
oh okay, and I'll mention that maybe I'll have to put this in the blog too. Um, there's a funny little cartoon that says, uh, "We have a position open for you, why, but it's only part time." And
okay. So back to me. Okay. So back to why. And when I wrote this poem, Dr. Fresh had at that time a 4-year-old grandson named Nicholas. And she recorded the two of them echo reading the poem. And Nicholas got so tickled he could hardly get the words out. It remains one of my all-time favorite recordings. Here is another opportunity for the teacher to read creatively. Now here's the poem, Yellow Y. A yak walked into a yo-yo store and yelled, I want a yo-yo. Why do you want a yo-yo, yak? Yelled back the yo-yo fellow. A yo-yo's yummy, yelled the yak, but only if it's yellow. Blue ones make my tummy hurt. Oh, they make me bellow. And then he gulped a yellow yo-yo. Yuck, yelled the fellow. Now, yeah, that's pretty silly, isn't it? But I didn't have a lot of words to play with. And I liked the idea of yelling because you can really emote in a poem like that. So that's one I want to leave you with. When I was working on the fluency development lesson with Dr. Kulich and Dr. Rosinski, we wanted my poems to cover a range of interest and subjects. It's important to provide emerging readers or any reader with material that appeals to them, that they like, holds their interest. As adults, our leisure reading is usually about something we like. I like nature, so I read books and stories and poems and articles about nature. I'm a biologist by education. I do not read anything about mechanics. Not going to do it. An education professor friend relates that although he is a fluent reader and loves to read and reads all the time, when he's forced to read an instruction manual, his brain just turns to mush and he can't get 1 ounce of meaning out of it. So that happens to kids too. Happens to all of us. We avoid things that we just don't understand or don't really want to read unless we're forced to. So some of the kids in the class are going to just love whatever it is, and others won't, and they may not relate it, they may not pick it up, and they may go home that day with nothing learned because it was not a subject that they understand or like. Dr. Richard Ellington, another wonderful educator, tells teachers, if there's any way you can, accumulate books in your classroom that you know your kids love to read. For me, that would include one of them would be Charlotte's Web. Yeah, another pig. What's with these pigs? Um, there's there, we have pig poems and pig songs and pig stories. I wrote a story years and years ago called Piggy Wiglet's Great Adventure. And there were four siblings, four little girls who used to listen to Piggy Wiglet's Great Adventure read by their grandmother. Now the girls are all grown up, and one of them that I communicate with is a teacher. She teaches English. You know what? She has on the calf of her leg a tattoo of Piggy and the last stanza of that story. I just love it. I claim that I'm the only author who has a fan with a tattoo of one of his books on their person. Uh, I I don't know what kind of brag that is, but turns out
David.
recently I met somebody else and said, "Well, I've got a fan who tattooed something." No, I don't want to hear about it. I want to be the only one.
Guys, I just want to let you know I'm going to send that through in a document for you to have a view of all these things that David is telling us about. Okay, Dr. David.
Yeah, I can hold this up, but you can't. You won't be able to see it. Yeah, you can a little bit. Well, back to the fluency development lesson. When we started that was with Kulik and Rosinski, uh, we wanted to have a variety of subject or themes, and we had five of them: history, culture. Now, history doesn't have to be scary or boring, by the way. History, culture, earth science, life science, and people and family. So I wrote poems for all of those categories across five grades, 1 through 5. Dr. Rosinski provided the word ladders. I know you know this, you heard him last time. Um, and then Dr. Coolidge did the most of the text. But many poems and short text can be used with our 5-day program. Really, it's theirs. I'm the poet and I wrote the poems, but they're the scholars, they're the educators, they're the teachers who really made all this happen. And I'm just glad that I was invited to be the poet for the book.
Okay,
Um,
David,
anyway,
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because something popped into my head again, and that is I'm going to be I'm going hat in hand, asking for funding for the basics, getting you guys the books, and then I'm going to take that same hat off and say, by the way, now that you've decided to fund the books, how about funding libraries? And then if you're kind of wondering, what could I put in the libraries? Well, uh, the kids' books like this, they're kids' favorite books. So I'm as I write about it in the blog tomorrow, I'll be saying it's really like a two stage thing. Stage one is to get those books into your hand as fast as we can, and then the second thing is in the long term trying to get some libraries going so that you've got those. And remember, remember that this is a supplemental program. David can tell you the minutes that you need to have in just a second, but it's a supplemental program. So whatever you're doing, you can keep doing it, and then you can supplement it with this. Now, if you want to turn it into your main program, that's fine as long as it's fine with your people at your place. But it's a supplemental program, and it can be done in a short amount of time. And I'm sorry for interrupting again, but David, I'll ask you to tell how long this lesson needs to last if you're trying to not make it stretch?
Um, I'm not good at knowing how long to make it last. That's the teacher has to be in control of that in the classroom. You can tell by listening to me talk, Sam, that a I'm in territory that I love. I've lived in this place for many decades, and so I could give you a quick rundown of the parts that I like best about the 5 day program. I call it. It sounds like something else, but the days of reinforcing in various ways a single poem, which of course the phonics, or sorry, the fluency development lesson really began many years ago as one page. And by the time Kulik and Brzezinski and I got finished with the remake, it's a 456 page book. And and we didn't publish everything there was. There's another 140 pages of it that the publisher said, I can't publish a book that long. So I think there's a second book out there. We're waiting for the first one to kind of make its way in the world, and then we'll do the second one.
Okay,
So,
that's music to my ears, and I will say this: if you look for teachers, if you look at the lesson plans that Dr. Cooley created, uh, you can use those uh, uh, as a supplement or otherwise. The same thing with Dr. Fresh, and when I start doing her kinds of things, you can use those as a supplement, or you can use that as your main program. So, and the time depends on how you're using it. If you're using it as a supplement, you need to stay within the boundaries that Dr. Cooley set down and Dr. Fresh set down. If you're using it as the main program, then um, then that's a local decision on how long to make it take. And the key here is it can be used either way. It's up to each individual site what to do.
okay. Well, if you do get your hands on a copy of the fluency development lesson eventually, um, I want to recommend five poems just as a quick introduction. You can go down through the book and you'll find all kinds of things. But uh, to give you a short course on the difference between a first grader and a fifth grader, like we don't already know, there. There's the one on, I didn't put down the pages, but first stories, and it's history, and it's grade range 1 to 2. Then how Anju disappeared is in culture, grade range 2 to 3. Will someone tell my aunties, people and family, grades range 3 to 4. How it begins, earth science, grade range 4 to 5. And two of a kind, life science, grade range 4 to 5. So it'll give you a quick reminder. And I've been doing this for a long time, but I also have to remind myself from time to time of the enormous difference between a first grader and a second grader, or a third grader and a fourth grader. They change so dramatically every 12 months. They're just not the same person. I'll have some kids who just love me to death in the third grade. And I see them 2 years later and they hardly know me. I'm too passe. I'm too old. They've got some new love now. And I say, yes, we're doing our job because they're moving on. They're learning and understanding more. And well, that's what we're trying to do. Well, so I picked one from the book, and it's called Communities, and it's Earth Science for grades 3, 4, which I think is close to where you all are teaching. So I'm going to read it and talk about it just a little bit. I wonder if that little ant marching along in a long row of other busy ants on the go knows that it is part of the show. Do you suppose an ant brain knows, when enough ants gather around, that they, without a single sound, can build a city underground? We can learn a lot from ants. We may not see what role we play, but each of us in our own way can help our community one day. Now, this isn't just a poem about ants, is it? It's a poem about kids thinking ahead to what they might be when they grow up. Are they a part of their community even now? What about when they're older? What role might they play? In what way might they help their community? Such questions can be inserted by the teachers into the 5 days of thinking about the poem and becoming fluent readers of it. So, in the text of the book was written by Dr. Coolidge, as I say, 456-page book, just an expansion of that one vital page created by Dr. Rosinski several years ago. So day one, when you get the book, you're going to see all kinds of activities to reinforce the basic sound at hand, or that subject at hand, or the poem, the subject poem. So but I just have some, as from a poet's point of view, that I think are very important. But day one, the teacher reads the poem. Now, I like to read it, as I've demonstrated, with good prosody and all that. I'm not at all hesitant about being silly about it or overly dramatic about it. The point is making it memorable and kind of fun for the kids. And since most of these things are stories, it's easy to sort of get into the character. Day two, read the poem again, and then choral read it with the students. And I like that because the more you can, especially, I like getting the students involved and feeling the words. I've forgotten who said it, but somebody said, feeling the words in their mouth, how they how they how they come out, and they have to do that before they can get the poems inside them. Day three, read the poem again, and then let students practice reading the poems in pairs and small groups. Now the kids are reading aloud and hearing the words coming from themselves, coming out of their own mouths. Some will read better than others, of course, but they're in a crucial phase of learning from hearing. And that's why we need to make the poem interesting when we introduce it on day one, because we're going to come back to this every day. Day four may be my favorite day. It lets students read the poem together as a group. They're now reading the poem on their own. Now that's big. And now we let the kids write. We let them write something that was inspired by that poem. It can be anything, another poem. It can be thoughts. It can be just something, but they're actually interpreting the words of that poem and bringing them through their own sensibilities and making something new out of it. Now that's huge. Day five, the last day. Well, who doesn't like a party? Who doesn't like to celebrate? Record the kids reading. Hide a reader in the closet or around the corner, and muffle their voices or something. Have them read, and have the class guess who it might be. Go trooping down the hall, reading the poems aloud to other. Have a flash reading, if there's such a thing, to other classes. Have parents come in. Do something, because you've come a long way, baby. Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about there. We're probably running long, right? I'm winding down, if that's all
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Are we
We
okay?
have a few more minutes, David, but thank you so much for sharing. I even if we run 5 or 10 minutes over, that's 100%. We can continue.
Well, thank you for your generosity. I just want to talk briefly about a friend of mine. I think that's germane here. A point when we're talking about what I'm saying and how it might relate to your classrooms. And I understand that you're working with multilingual
Yes.
kids. Well, I've
Yes.
done some of the multilingual work as a visitor to classrooms. um, but when I work with kids with different cultures or languages or experiences, I found that most kids like, not most, not all, like to talk about themselves.
Mm,
And the other kids like to hear about different foods and different customs and different kinds of dress and all that. Um, I have a really good friend. She's a Zulu young woman, and I'm going to butcher the language. Mum, Mumalanga Township. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. It's several.
it's in Mpumalanga.
Okay, thank you.
Mpumalanga.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I began corresponding with Celinda when she was, I think, 17 and 18, something like that. She was just a vivacious young woman. Um, and then something happened to her when she was in early 20s, some disease, some malady that rendered her basically crippled. She's lived her life in a wheelchair with the use of one arm ever since, and she's 36 now, and she's here. She's a writer. She's articulate. Um, and when she confided in me years ago that when she was just a little kid, she
Mm,
was repeatedly raped at knife point over a number of years, beginning when she was just a little girl holding her teddy bear. Um, so I encouraged Celinda to write, to write about that, her experience. And she
mm,
does. Today she writes beautifully. She's smart. She's articulate. She says what she means to say. And I take great pleasure in knowing that
mm,
in spite of the tough time she's has had and still does,
mm.
she's present, accounted for, using her gifts the best way she can. And I think she's just a great example for the rest of us. So we all have some kinds of burdens, and yet somehow we find the strength to march on.
Yes.
Um, okay, I think that's it for me. Um, I'll close then by saying that I started something a few years ago, in 2009, that I call Word of the Month Poetry Challenge. And each month I post a single word on my blog. And I tell people your words have stories hidden inside them. And our job is to look at a word long enough that the story comes out and then write a poem about it and post that poem on my blog. And others who come there to read it will praise it, will find good things to say about it and encourage you. Now, this is for adults and it's for children. I have two different categories. So I hope that you teachers will consider visiting my blog and looking for the one called Young WOM, stands for Word of the Month, Young WOM Poems, and you can just follow the directions there, and maybe we'll get to see some poems written by your kids, and oh, it'd make my day if you do. Thank you.
Wow, David, I think that's absolutely wonderful. Teachers, this is something that I really think you should look at. I was sitting here thinking by myself, storytelling, singing, poems is such an integral part, actually, of our culture here in South Africa. No, and it is something that I think we've often tried to use to help our kids with memory. But seeing how this can be used to develop reading fluency, how to develop a love for reading, I think it's absolutely fantastic, David. And I'm so thankful for sharing this with us. I can't wait to see some of our students' poems and some of our teachers' poems on your blog. I will be watching out for those and would love to hear when you guys send it in. Let us know so that we can cheer you on.
Absolutely.
I think we're done for today, but I want to hand the session just over to Sam for some final words, and then David, if there's something last that you want to say, and then we're going to sign off until we see one another next week. Sam, over to you.
Okay. First, I need for you to send me an invitation um, very soon. Uh, would right after this is all done be
Okay,
okay? Okay, so send me an invitation right after we're done, because I've got to talk to you about next week. And then
okay.
the big thing here is you've got permission to adapt this to you and
Mm,
your kids. Okay. There is a huge amount of research that says teachers make the most difference. Okay, so of all the things, teachers make
okay.
the most difference. The kids will make you if you try to fake something. Okay, they'll know. So you have to. I'm especially addressing those of you that when you saw that David was doing poems, ooh poems. Well, I'm hoping that by the time we're done with all this training, it's going to be ooh poems. And by the way, did you notice the difference? That's prosody. Okay, saying it one way, ew, poems, it conveys one message. Saying it the other way, oh, poems, conveys another. And the kids will know which message you're conveying. So keep that in mind. You have the permission to adapt and adopt. Okay, so and please do. Uh, there are a number of blogs involved, and I will make sure that when I do the written blog tomorrow, I give you all those places to go. Now, final thing is don't run yourself ragged with this. Okay,
Mm,
one step at a time. You know
mm,
what you can do and what you can't do, but do kind of stay in touch. And part of my job is to sell you that this works. I've seen it work. There's a ton of research that says it works, but it won't work. It won't work. It won't work if you don't believe in it first.
mm.
And it won't work if you're not adapting to your kids. Okay. So that's what you've got to do. And those are my final thoughts.
Thank you, Sam. David, is there any last maybe things that you want to share with our teachers?
Well, I will say that I know the teachers' schedules sometimes make it very, very hard to work in one more thing. And
Mm,
yet, Ken Nesbitt, his website, I know somebody posted a while ago, is a former United States children's poet laureate. He wrote a book, even a collection of his poems that all can be read in under 1 minute. And so, if you can't find a minute to write
mm, mm.
read a poem to your kids, uh, you ought to
Yeah.
complain to the authorities. You need that minute, darn it.
Yeah.
But this lesson that we're talking about will take a little bit more than a minute, but still,
Mm,
um, there are many cases of kids who become so happy about the poetry lesson that they
mm.
demand it. I mean, if the teacher gets busy and forgets about it, they say, whatever happened to?
Yeah.
So this is habit forming in a very, very positive way. And I hope that in your own cases, you'll somehow find some time in your day in your week to make this happen. And I promise you, you're going to be glad. Your kids will be too.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you. Yes, dear teachers, I think we are learning so much. I hope that you are going to use what you heard today in this next week, even tomorrow, maybe the day after. Just try something new in your class. Use the materials that you have been sent that is available. And we want to hear feedback from you. So I really want to ask you, we're running out of time because there's so much that we want to share, but you are so welcome to send, we're on a WhatsApp group. You can send, some of you have our mails, those of you who are working with mail, send us a message and share with us what you have tried, how has it changed, what you are thinking in the class. And then finally, please, we'll be sending out the link to our feedback form on Google for you guys. We'll send it on the WhatsApp group and on your mails tomorrow morning. So you have a bit of time just to think and simmer about what we've heard today. Please send those back to us. We want to know, how is this impacting on what you are doing in your classroom? And then to prepare, I see already we're getting questions about phonics. Everybody's excited about a next session as well, which is wonderful. It means that you are finding value in what we're doing. So we'll be sending that out tomorrow as well. And you will get your preparation materials. But from all of us, wow, David, today has been so fantastic. Thank you so much for
My
taking the
pleasure.
time off so early in the morning to share with us. And I'm looking for, you know what I'm thinking? I want to see those kids performing the poems that they're going to write in the next
Yeah.
few months. And we might just send a few of those over to you guys as well in the States.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it.
Well, thank you, Sam, as well, for being with us again,
Okay.
facilitating us and taking us through this whole process. We have so many thank yous from our side as well. Teachers, have a lovely, lovely rest of the afternoon, and you guys have a lovely rest of the day. And we'll see one another again next week, same time, same place. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.